Hamilton, good to be here with you. How was your show last night at Earth Hall, Hackney?
It was great. I love that place, Earth. Beautiful theater.
It's kind of got a bit of a school hall sort of feel to it.
A little bit of like a prison room sort of feel.
Yeah. How's the crowd?
Great. I mean, it's seated and it's Monday, so it's sort of like in terms of wildness, I guess it's sort of tame, but they seem very appreciative, and I loved it. We all loved it. The band loved it. Yeah.
What's the New York sort of independent venue scene like these days?
I wouldn't really know, to be honest.
No.
I kind of I don't play in New York all that much. Weirdly, I travel more, so the scene I don't know. I'm a little bit out of it. I guess I know the bigger places, and occasionally I don't go see that much live music because I see so much when I'm traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's like the one place I don't do all that much of that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the next question is, if you were to, again, this requires a little bit of thinking, but if you were to recommend a track to someone that is a track that beats the algorithm, it's not one they'd find on all these streaming services, what would you recommend to beat the algorithm?
Geez. You know what I just heard the other day for the first time in a very long time? I don't even know if this would be on Spotify or whatever, but I Couldn't Get High by the Fugs. Have you heard that song?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty funny. It's about a guy going out to a party and taking all these drugs, but the chorus is, I couldn't get high.
Pretty literal.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Sort of a bluesy song.
And then coming back, I won't dwell on, I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but could you recommend a favorite New York City album, be it a band from New York City or about New York City?
Sure. Maybe a Talking Heads record to me would be sort of a quintessential New York record, something like Fear of Music. Yeah.
Favorite Walkman song? Changes.
I like Canadian Girl, the Walkman song. I always thought we did a good job with that one.
And then we're going to go back to the venue element of it. And I'm going to ask you for your first best bar in Manhattan.
The best bar in Manhattan. Let's see. Trying to think of where. I don't go out in Manhattan all that much. I'm trying to think of a good place. I like the Oyster Bar at Grand Central Station. That's pretty cool.
Okay. And then the best bar in Brooklyn?
King Thai on Bergen Street in Crown Heights.
Any reason why? Very short.
My friend owns it.
Okay, good shout.
And I drink there for free. But it's actually a beautiful little spot, and they make great cocktails.
Yeah. So coming back to London, you played last night. I'm aware it's a bit of an in and out trip for you here. You just come and play.
It's quick, yeah.
But then, do you enjoy playing here?
I do. I love it. It's so fun. Yeah.
Is there any sort of kind of differences that you notice in maybe a British crowd or a London crowd specifically?
Not tangibly. I mean, it does seem like sometimes people here pay more attention to the history of your band, and they know your story a little bit better than they do in America, which can be both good and bad at the same time. But it's nice to have people care, and it seems like a lot of people here care. And I think I've been with a lot of people for a long time because I recognize people in the crowd, and people come up to me and say, I saw you 20 years ago. And I've played here so many times in so many places over the years. It's just like, it's really like, it's an international destination. It's a huge city, but it's always exciting playing here. It always feels like one of the big stops around the world. And I used to feel a lot more like sort of pressure when I came over here when I was younger, and now it's just sort of more fun. Maybe that's just my general attitude, but it used to be sort of terrifying to come here and play like Shepherd's Bush Empire or something like that, and it was your big show, and all the money and all the press on the tour is like riding on that show, and you kind of worry about screwing up or something. And
yeah,
I guess maybe I just don't care that much of a screw up anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that's just kind of like a general symptom of like more youthful insecurity.
Yeah.
It may be also being in a band as well, like you're juggling the sort of creative thoughts of multiple people rather than just your own music.
Maybe. I think, or maybe it's just being just nervous.
Yeah.
Youthful nervousness. Yeah.
Which is a good thing. And then just, whilst we're talking about London and the UK, are there any musicians at the moment or maybe in the last few years that you've listened to are really doing sort of great at the minute?
I love the Idols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mutually mutual relationship.
Yeah, they've been very complimentary. We just played with them, and I've gotten to know them, and I love them as guys, and I love them as a band too.
Yeah, they have quite a healthy audience in America as well.
Yeah, they do well.
Really understand.
Yeah.
And then, so with this record, playing it just before it comes out to a crowd over here, are there any songs that you played in the shows leading up to the release that you kind of made you see the songs in a different way? They've kind of changed.
I've only played these songs like 4 times now, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try. At first, when I was making this record, I had all these instruments and stuff on it, and after, because I was recording it at home, you can have the freedom to do whatever you want. And after a while, I started stripping things away, and I wanted to make it more of an intentionally sort of rock band playing, even though it's just me playing all the instruments. And I'm glad I did that, because now I can actually perform them live and recreate them in a way. But still, even still, I only have 4 guys out there on stage, so we all have to adapt all the parts and stuff, and we make it kind of like just streamlining, and I play a lot more electric guitar these days than I used to. My friend in LA told me it looked like I was wrestling a cat when I played my guitar all these on, because I'm moving all over the place. But we're just getting used to it right now, so it is different.
Well, yeah, because I guess the reason why I asked you alluded to it is it's a very textural album that must sound, in the production process, sound a certain way. And I often find, talking to musicians, when they start to road test it, songs have a different relationship to them, or they get new life breathed into them.
Yeah, definitely. Or you start to die quick.
Really?
Oh yeah. But I like every song on the record, and it's been fun trying to get them off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read that you had a listening party for this one, and it was quite like a,
yeah,
I guess, frightening experience in some ways.
Well, I've done 2 now. The first one was definitely not my idea, and I thought it was going to be living hell, and I was dreading it. And my daughter asked me, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "Well, we're going to listen to the record, and that's it." And she's like, "No, what are you actually going to do?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's a good question. I have no idea." And so you actually just sit. I just sit there like this, and you listen to the music. And so to me, that sounded like the most awkward thing I could possibly imagine. And I was like, "Why am I doing this?" But then, just like, the record's not that long, and it was just a group of people in a room. And as my friend said afterwards, it's just like, you could have just sent all these people an email, but it's nice to just get everybody to actually drive there, sit down, turn their phones off, and listen to the record one time, and I can present the physical thing that I did. It's very old school. So we did it in LA, and I just thought it was like, it was like eye-opening. This is a great idea. I'm never not going to do this. So I organized one in New York, and we did it there, and I'm going to do another one in Toronto, actually, too.
Yeah. It's got, like,
I wish we'd done one here, too, actually. It's like, it's just fun.
It's a great way to kind of cultivate a community.
It is. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess what you alluded to there, it's kind of like wrongfully, it's like seemed as like an antiquated way of doing things, but ultimately, at any point possible, we should try and create these environments where we all just sit and listen to music.
Definitely.
Each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's like contrived like that, like, who cares? It still happened, and it's the only time that's going to happen. So
did it give you any immediate feedback? Either way?
I mean, yeah, you always have that. Like, the first time you play it for a friend or something, there's always that moment where you're sort of hearing it through their ears, or you're imagining what they're hearing, and so yeah. But at this point, I'm so familiar with the music, and I've played it for people, so that wasn't like. It's weirder to play it live now, because it's, I got to perform it.
Yeah.
But no, I've already gotten used to the record, hearing it.
And am I right in saying this was a record that you kind of toyed with releasing a few years ago, or was that a different record?
Yeah, that was this record, but it was completely different. I mean, there's recognizable sounds, but I built it again from the ground up. It was just not right. I thought I was done, and I wasn't, and I'm glad I didn't release it. It wasn't ready.
In what way was it?
It was overcooked. It was just, I thought everything was like a maniacal mess of just things. It was a monster. It was like a Frankenstein that needed to be torn apart. And I'm glad I did.
Because I guess, I mentioned it already, it is like an extremely textural record. So with that, there must be kind of creatively, like, you're constantly walking a high rope or like a tight wire of coherence and maybe
ideas
being thrown at a wall.
Well, at the very end of the process. I mean, it took me a really long time to make this record, and at the very end, I went and played it for my friend Aaron Dusner, who just invited me up to his studio, and that was the first time I'd ever played it for anyone. And we listened to like the whole thing basically, and he could have said like, I was like, "What do you think I have?" And he's like, he could have said like, "I think it's time for you to go back to school, like you know, and get a job." But no, he was like, "I think you're done. I think you're basically finished." And I was like, you know, it was an amazing moment just to hear it from someone you know and respect, and then he helped me make a few small changes, and he played some stuff that was really great on it, and it just changed. That right there changed my whole perspective on where I was and what I had, and then he put some things in that made it sound really modern, and it just framed it all for me in this new way. And I thought, oh yeah, I am done, and I really want people to hear this, and that's always a good feeling when you really want someone else to hear it. Is when I just feel like I knew I was done at that moment.
Could you give some examples of some of the things that you said sounded new that he?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we were listening to my song "Knockin' Heart," which is one that I released, and it was exactly what you hear now. It was what it was, except like he put like a sub bass on the chorus, and he put like so that it was just so that when you're in the car and that chorus hits, it bam, and it hits you right in the chest, you know. And it really, it's like a subtle thing, but at the same time it makes a big difference. So, and he put like a very clean acoustic guitar that just emphasized my jin 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 rhythm on my electric guitar. That it's almost inaudible, but when you take it away, it's noticeable that it's gone, and it sounds great when it's in there. Yeah. So those are just two small things, but then to me they made a big difference.
Yeah, because it's a great track, Knockin' Heart, and it's what obviously people can listen to already. But I'm curious to know what influenced you to lead with that as one of the singles, because in some ways it's quite different to the rest of the album.
It is different, yeah.
And it probably sends people down a different path.
Right, yeah. I just thought it was one of those ones that has like a banging chorus, and yeah, you could like play it on the radio or something like that.
Lyrically, it's kind of. I read that you kind of described it as like a hate, sort of a drunk lover or something. Do you elaborate on that a little bit more? Sort of
yeah, it's supposed to just be it's like a person who really is falling in love with someone else, but is maybe kind of estranged and is trying to get a message through, like, I'll love you for my life if you'll let me.
Yeah. This might be a stretch, so you can just shoot me down if I'm completely incorrect, but that feels like a direct version of what the entire record lyrically speaks to as a metaphor. There's lots of talk about longing.
Yeah, maybe.
Is there any points in the record where that's maybe a little bit more abstract and less about a person and more about, I guess, a society?
I mean,
commentary?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of when I was writing it, there's a lot of I've lost two very close family members while I was writing this record, and there is a lot of like yearning for the past that, you know, you got to get over that at some point, but it's hard to let it go. And you know, my song "This Side of the Island" is supposed to be a metaphor for like a feeling of disillusionment. So it starts with this side of the island is built out of trash, which is the east side of New York is literally built on landfill. So that's just like a metaphor for, you know, it's something that's not as great as it looks. And I love in our city, we built a collapse. I was in a relationship with a girl at the time, and we lived together, and then that fell apart. And then I got to a bigger, moving broader. I say like, it's not a beautiful country as much as I love it to be. And it's like, you know, in the last, 10 years, the United States and Britain has got their own problems there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of revealed an ugly side that was always there that you didn't, I don't know. I guess I didn't totally recognize it when I was younger. And now I've sort of, I think it's not like it's new. I think it was always there, but now it's just come to the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because listening to that track particularly, I did kind of think of that. And there's some sort of lyrical musings on the track. What do I think that kind of made me question your, you know, whether your position as as a father has influenced your lyric writing?
I'm sure it has. You know, that song is one of my favorite ones, actually. It's like, what do I think? It sounds like a funny little, kind of like you're kidding, but at the same time, you start thinking about like, what do I think about this? What do I think about a situation that I'm in, or what do I think about this? I've life that I've built for myself, or what am I doing today? What am I doing for a career? Like, what the hell am I? What do I love? What do I think? What do I know? What do I love? And it's kind of a scary question if you ask yourself that sometimes.
Yeah, then it kind of seems like quite an observational song, and like combined with this side of the island, it feels like this record is potentially a really understated, powerful societal record that people, hopefully, when they listen to, might take from that.
That'd be great if they do.
Yeah, you're happy with it nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then so more like on compositionally, talking about the record, you already mentioned Aaron. What was his role in sort of the overall production? How was it working with him on this album?
Well, it was great. It was very short. I mean, it was right at the end, and the record was. He played on 7 out of the 9 tracks and brought as I was saying, like a modern sound. And he's got some tricks that he's really good at that in my mind reframed the entire thing. And so I was very appreciative, and also mostly just for like the feedback and just sort of the friendship of just talking.
Yeah.
And I mean, my wife was the other producer on this record because I would always try to hold the songs back from her as long as possible so that I could have like fresh ears. But then I'd like force her to listen to it, and then she was like, I would just drive her crazy and be like, what do you think about the tune? Like little details and stuff. And I think she got sick of it.
Well, no,
I think she was glad that I went and talked to Aaron too, because she needed a little break.
That was a question I've been meaning to ask you. Obviously this is your 5th solo album now, so you're well versed in the world of solo artistry, but at the same time, you're an artist who's worked in a band for a large part of their career. And I'm just curious to know how do you register those creative thoughts, know when to take them outside of your head and bounce them off someone else, and who do you have to do that? Obviously, your wife is one of those people.
Right. I mean, I don't know if I'm that good at knowing when. So maybe I could have done it earlier, but I don't know if I was ready. I don't think I know. I don't know. I know I've done it for a long time, but I don't know. I mean, working with a group the grass is always greener, It's great to have your friends there. It's so fun. I miss having my friends around a lot, but at the same time, you had to rely on 5 people's schedules and you disagree with people and stuff, and it can piss you off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was listening to the record as well, there kind of felt like quite a melodic playfulness in some of the songs. I guess from my ear, a lot of that was driven by keyboard parts and piano parts. Does that sort of, again, as a solo artist, do you feel, or an artist who's established themselves, feel like a sense of creative freedom where you can go, I'm going to explore the most playful ideas I possibly can? And
definitely. I mean, I feel like you can do. I definitely am making the music that I want to make, and I don't have to compromise in any way with anybody, and that's great. I wouldn't trade that for anything. I mean, that's why I still do it the way I do. But at the same time, sometimes you need a little push. Sometimes you need somebody to irritate you, to get you going, get a little fire in there, and so it's. You can also, like, when you have total freedom, you can like end up throwing like an entire string section and then an entire horn section on every single song, and then you're like, what the hell is this? I can, with computers, is use like a couple of mouse clicks and you got like a string section in there,
And like, as I was mentioning the playfulness, and as I said about the keyboard parts and the piano parts, was there, in the process of this, was there an instrument in which like much of the genesis of the songs was centered around? Or
right, probably the electric guitar.
Yeah,
I didn't want to play the electric guitar for a long time after the Walkman because we were such an electric guitar based band, and I my other records are really acoustic based, and this one to me is a lot more electric.
Yeah, well, I've often heard lots of musicians talk about when they reach for the guitar, they kind of feel themselves slipping back into old tricks, old habits.
Right.
So was there a sense that you had to go away, and then when you kind of picked it back up on this record, did it just feel fresh ideas? And
definitely, I just hadn't played it in so long. I mean, I do on little things, but it wasn't the centerpiece for a long time. And I needed to get away from the acoustic guitar, to be perfectly honest, because I was just sort of recording everything was just based on the same guitar every time, and it was just getting a little stale.
Yeah. On your vocal performance on the record, which I think is like a stunning vocal performance across the whole record, were you? Your voice has always kind of soared on previous stuff, but it really feels like it's gone to a different level on this record. Do you feel that yourself, or is that just my perception of it?
I mean, I'm really happy with the way it sounds. Yeah, that's one thing I've always been stuck with the same voice for. I've done this for whatever 25 years, more. I've done 30 years now, and you get in your own head a lot with that, and it's important to like not overthink it, but that's tough. You try different approaches, you try to change your sound, and it can sometimes that you can break through to another spot, but then in the end you usually end up just like sort of singing, doing something that's very fakey or something. And with this record, I definitely got to a point where I was like really trying to not sound like myself, and then all of a sudden I had this moment where I thought, what the hell am I doing? I'm just being me, just accept what my voice sounds like, and maybe not everybody's gonna like it or whatever, but I'll be happy with the performance that I give, and I was.
Yeah, what do you mean when you were saying you're trying to not sound like? How does that for man?
Like you get my voice can be kind of annoying, and I know it can, and try to sing in a different register, or try to sing much quieter. Don't give it that whole hog, and stuff like that. But then you listen back and you're like, that's not me. I don't know who that person is. That's so. I think it's tough to judge yourself like that, especially when it's your voice. That's a good time to have somebody else in the room and say, no, that's fine. You don't need to the way you intonated that, or the way you yelled that, or whatever it's fine. Leave it. I mean, you don't need to do it 100 more times.
Coming up to the release of the record now, how do you, looking at the track listing, is there a song that you're particularly excited for people to hear that's not yet been released?
That song, What Do I Think? That's the one I want people to hear it.
Yeah.
That's like, I feel like that's like the center of the record.
Correct.
I think it's right in the middle too. So.
And then, how does it feel? You're well versed in the album campaign process and releasing it. How does it feel at this point now where it's done, it's ready to go out into the world? Is there still a sense of nervousness, or are you just at ease with the whole thing?
No, I mean, it's sort of a slow like process of releasing the first song was kind of scary because you like hear that this is where it's going, but I'm not nervous. I'm just at this point it's just been so long for me. I mean, I finished it like last summer, and it got delayed. Everybody's wanted to put it out in the spring for a million reasons. So I just want people to hear it. Honestly, yeah.
You excited for it?
Yeah, I'm ready for people to hear all. I mean, now we've got 3 out, which is great, but I'm really definitely ready for everybody to hear everything else.
Are there any shows in particular that you look forward to, like ahead?
Last night I was really looking forward to, and it was great. I'm doing Toronto and Chicago, and then I do a month at the Carlisle, which will be that'll be fun.
It's kind of a special place for you, isn't it?
Yeah. This is my 7th year there. I guess at this point I could maybe say I played that room more than any other room, probably.
Yeah. And do you feel that sense of familiarity to go on stage, and you feel like
Yeah, I mean it's tiny too, so it's like you really can feel it. I mean, I can really feel it with I bring a loud sound and stuff, and I feel like he got like total control over it, and it's really, it's a fun evening.
Yeah. Well, I would urge people to go listen to this album. It's a brilliant album, and
thank you.
We're really looking forward to its release. But I would be not doing my job probably if I didn't ask you about playing a string of shows at the Walkman recently, and if that was to indicate any new material or...
No, not right now. I mean, I was working on this the whole time.
Yeah.
So I had my sights set on this, and that went on a lot longer than we all had anticipated because it went really well, and it was really fun. But there was definitely an end point to that. We don't have any future plans right now.
Yeah, just the sort of strictly live and playing together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to close the door, and I don't think anybody else does, but we aren't working on anything right now.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing to see you not necessarily looking to over-egg the whole nostalgia thing, because there's a lot of talk, obviously, ever since the Meet Me in a Bathroom stuff. There's a lot of talk about the New York scene at that time, and I think there's a lot of yearning for a revisiting of that. But I guess you guys are just doing it if it's a natural thing for you.
Yeah, we just wanted to get together. I mean, it had been a while. We thought, why the hell not? I didn't ever want to close the door to begin with. I just wanted to do a solo record.
Yeah, sure. And how do you look back on those days of that era that people talk about so far?
Like when our band was starting.
Yeah, the New York era of the...
It was really exciting. It was great. Yeah. I knew a lot of people. It was fun because you really did know a lot of bands, and you're all playing at the small clubs together. And, you know, some people were kind of like rivals and friends, and it was great.
Is there anything like in those days, and when we talk about eras past, be it, you know, the 80s, 90s, that doesn't necessarily exist today in the more modern digital aspect?
Well, we didn't have phones, which was just so great. I mean, that's the ultimate, like, the past, you know, everything was better back then kind of line, but it really was, because you really were just trapped with your friends, and you had to go do this show at this club, and the people that came, and not everybody was on their fucking phone the entire time, and it really felt like it was like a night that you all had together, just whoever was there, and I miss that, definitely.
Have you noticed like a noticeable change in the crowd and of phone usage at gigs?
I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. I mean, everybody everywhere. You play a festival now, it's just like everyone's holding their phone up the entire time.
How does it feel as an artist being on stage looking at the back of the phone as opposed to the face?
I mean, I guess you get used to it, but it's weird. I mean, I remember when that started happening, I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? But they still do it.
Yeah. But that being said, you know, there's still like a healthy community of people who love the music you create, and many of your contemporaries, and I'm glad that...
I didn't see it last night, I guess. Well, I couldn't, it was dark, but I guess I would have seen the lights of the phone. It didn't feel like that many people on the phone at that theater last night. Maybe it was a sort of older crowd, I don't know.
Yeah. But, yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to the album you release and seeing what year has ahead of you, but it's a really brilliant piece of work. So
well, thank you.
Thank you for your time.